This one is considered by many to be a Hall of Fame fragrance. What do I think? Hello, welcome back to Seldomly Often. I'm Daniel. Today we're talking fragrances and this is a practical review of Amouage Reflection 45. These reviews are for fragrances I have a lot of experience with, multiple wears and many situations, and are meant to give you a general idea of what it feels to wear the fragrance. As per usual, despite me doing a lot of research before buying anything, I really don't like to go into details about notes and accords, as I don't really feel like it helps the general user to understand what it feels to wear the fragrance. Diving right into it, Amouage Reflection 45. This is definitely one of my favorite fragrances of all time, and it totally lives up to the hype. Amouage Reflection 45 is part of the Amouage Reflection family, which includes Amouage Reflection Man, Amouage Reflection Woman, and Amouage Reflection 45. These are all considered to be on the more approachable side of Amouage, and they're generally seen as a great entry point to the brand. I don't really agree. I mentioned this in another video, but entering the brand of Amouage with Reflection, or Reflection 45 to be honest, doesn't really give you a great impression of what Amouage is as a brand. That being said, Amouage Reflection 45 is strange and dense and unusual enough to be considered an Amouage, despite not smelling really like anything else within the brand itself. This one here is part of the Exceptional Extracts collection, and as the name implies, Reflection 45, this one here has a very high oil count, so it's 45% oil in this bottle. This means that this fragrance is exceptionally dense, exceptionally oily, and does not really behave like other normal fragrances would. Before diving into the scent profile and before diving into what the fragrance smells like or feels like to wear, we can't ignore this absolutely incredible bottle. You might think this bottle is a little bit over the top, it's a little bit tacky. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and I think it captures the feeling of wearing this fragrance. I feel it captures the scent profile of this fragrance. Similar to many Amouage, they choose their color, they choose their packaging very carefully. Diving a little bit deeper in the craziness of this bottle design, I mean, we have all these reflections going on. So the sides are completely polished, they're mirror polished. The cap is silver polished, chrome. And on the front we have this really incredible reflection going on, which is basically, it's like a two-layer glass, so you get this like double reflection. The logo Amouage kind of reflects in itself. And behind that we have this insane looking oil slick. I think it's really eye-catching. The cap is the usual magnetic cap. In this case it's a very strong magnet. The sprayer is good, always per Amouage standards. This one here might give an impression that it's a little weaker than usual, but I think it's due to the fact that, again, this is an incredibly oily fragrance, so it's actually really hard to pump through the atomizer. Let's give it a spritz. Yeah, opening is absolutely beautiful. So one thing that you will notice is that upon spraying, this and the other Exceptional Extracts really leave like an oil stain on your arm. It's kind of like Johnson's baby oil. It's really oily and shiny. I would advise against spraying this on clothes for two reasons. One, because although it being a relatively transparent liquid, it's still heavy. It still looks like an oil. So it might build up like this like wet looking oily stain on clothing anyway. Also, this scent, similarly to Jubilation 40, kind of requires some heat from your body to work its magic. Otherwise, it's very subtle. And for that reason, spoiler, I do consider this scent a warm weather one. Presentation aside, you all know that I'm a huge Amouage fanboy. But we need to say something about this fragrance specifically. This one here, as part of the Exceptional Extract collection, is very expensive. This hovers around the $500 range, and it's difficult to find at discounters. Do I think it's worth it? I'll give you my opinion on that part at the end of the video, but all I can say is that the presentation, the bottle design, and the way you open the fragrance, and the exceptionally luxury feeling you get kind of helped sell the product. Onto the scent profile for this. So Reflection, as I mentioned, in general, like the whole entire family, it is considered to be one of the more approachable Amouages. It doesn't really feature much of an oriental vibe to it, so you don't get crazy ingredients like oud or like crazy incenses, or at least not a lot of them. You don't get crazy animalics. It's very approachable. It's very approachable, likable, non-offensive, and elegant scent profile. The two scents that started it all are Reflection Man and Reflection Woman. I don't have experience with Reflection Woman, but Reflection Man was initially compared to Jean Paul Gaultier Le Male. I truly cannot understand that comparison. I have smelled Le Male, and this smells to me like it smells nothing like it. The original Reflection Man, even in its current formulation and compared to something like this, which is way more dense, still feels light years ahead of something like Jean Paul Gaultier in terms of quality, in terms of elegance, in terms of refinement, in terms of just like the way the ingredients and the way the feeling is presented to you. This one here definitely smells expensive and it smells luxurious. I really can't see any type of comparison. So both of these could be summarized as white floral bombs. They function in different ways slightly, but the main player in these fragrances, like to my nose at least, is jasmine. Jasmine is the overpowering note that I get throughout the wears of these two. If you don't like jasmine, these are not for you. If you don't like white florals, these are not for you. That being said, this is considered to be a very manly scent. So don't be put off by the white florals just yet. So the opening of this does have a little bit of sparkle compared to its very dense dry down, despite it being a summer scent. I have to be honest, in order to pinpoint what was giving that sparkle, I had to sort of refer to the notes and compare with other fragrances that I have that have similar notes, just to try to isolate them. So I do get something that is in the refreshing vein, such as juniper berries. It gives it like this, a little bit of this balsamic freshness, very, very slight. Don't be put off at all because it's very slight. You get a slightly spiciness in the opening. It could be some sort of a pepper, it could be some sort of a cardamom. The sparkle kind of gives it a little bit of a more 3D feeling. I would definitely not say that this is fresh smelling, or rather, not in the conventional sense. I do feel that this is very much for the summer, but I'll get into the wearability of this later. The transition on, like between the phases of this scent is very, very long. And it seems even longer because the scent is not like uber complex, meaning that, I think that there's a lot going on, but the general tone of voice stays more or less the same. So you get this, like the vibe doesn't completely or drastically change between the phases. The mid and like the bulk of the weight of this fragrance, as I said, it's dominated by these white florals. And this is a heavy white floral. This is not light and airy. This is like dense. This is like sticking your face into a jasmine bush and taking in all that kind of like humid, creamy, thick jasmine scent profile. This is a thick scent. This is not only thick because of the oil concentration, but just because of the type of notes in it. Some people say that this and Reflection Man resemble clean sheets from a luxury hotel. I can get that vibe. It does give you like a freshly dry clean clothes kind of smell, like a dryer sheet, like very, very high quality linen in a clean room that has been aired out. But I mean, it is an intense smell. This is not light. Comparing Reflection Man to Reflection 45, I do think that you get the same kind of vibe. This one here just behaves in a different way, but you get this still this very clean, somewhat airy, very white floral heavy smell. The Reflection Man, I think it's a lot lighter. And it's a lot lighter. It feels lighter on skin. It feels lighter in the air and in your nose. This one here, the opening's supposed to be different. I mean, if you look at the notes between the two, like the notes are very different. I can't really pick up on all those differences, but this one here has a little bit more of a peppery nuance, while this one here kind of embraces the heaviness with maybe some sort of a sweeter spice. But the wearability of this one here projects a lot. This one here, you spray it on and you get massive amount of projection for the first an hour and a half, and then it settles down. But this one here is a lot lighter. The longevity on this is way less than on something like Reflection 45. The longevity on Amouage Reflection, man, and I wore a lot of this sample, by the way. I wore like 3 good full wears. The reflection on this is about, I would say, 6 hours. You can still smell it as a skin scent. I mean, I haven't sprayed it anymore, but I can still clearly pick it up from this morning. But yeah, it is very much lighter. On the other hand, this one here, as I mentioned, wears in a very thick manner. So it gives me the same idea and concept as Jubilation 40. So when you spray it on, yes, you get a waft of this incredibly luxurious and dense and thick aroma of white florals. But if you put like if you spray it in your arm and you put your arm down, the initial projection, or at least once you get used to the scent, it's not huge. It's not room filling or choking anyone out. This one is more, I think it behaves a lot more like an oil. By the way, I got a full Amouage Attar sample kit, and I'll be giving my first impressions of that in small pieces. I'm thinking 4 parts. But yeah, it does kind of behave like an oil in a way, similar to Jubilation 40. So it is there, and it's very thick, but it doesn't just like evaporate off your skin and radiate off your skin that fast. So overall, I mean, this is it's not super complex as far as vibes go. It doesn't give you imagery which is completely out there, and it doesn't really transition between the zones in a drastic manner. But it really feels like so high quality, so elegant, so dense and just articulate. It has this wetness that is resembling a steamy bathroom after a shower, that you just pass your finger on the mirror and it leaves these like drops. So it's that kind of thickness. Still very clean, because I mean, after a shower you have this like clean, soapy, powdery, very fresh and florally feel, but it is dense and wet. And it stays dense and wet until the very dry down. When the woods come in, they kind of soak up some of that moisture and they dry the fragrance up a little bit. As I mentioned, I really love this fragrance. Actually, this one is probably the one fragrance that I would keep if I had to get rid of everything. Because, not specifically because of the scent profile, but because it's so, in a way, understated, but yet elegant, but very, very wearable in multiple situations, that it's so, this could be the perfect signature scent to my experience. It is an expensive signature scent, but hey, if you can swing it, why not? This one here is a masculine scent, not because it has some weird animalics that sort of demand authority, respect, in that sort of way. Rather, you come across as just clean, well put together, and elegant, and just approachable. This scent makes you approachable. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. This could be like the perfect job interview or perfect non-romantic first presentation type of scent, just because it really enhances one's presence in general. I can completely see why it's so incredibly popular. I'm so happy to own this as a statement piece, as an actual fragrance to wear. The extreme versatility, it can be worn literally in all situations. The fact that it's so long lasting, the fact that it's so predictable and relatively linear, the fact that you only need like 2 sprays, I mean, make this scent actually kind of good value. Do I recommend it for the average person compared to Reflection Man? Not really. I mean, I do think that there is a degree of redundancy. They're not 2 different scents. I would not own both of them. Reflection Man, I think that the only advantage of this scent is probably the price and the fact that it's a little lighter. So in really, really high heat, this one here might be a little strong, while Reflection Man is still functional. But other than that, I mean, I truly would not own them both. Like, there's no reason. And if you can spring for it, I mean, Reflection 45 is truly, truly like a killer fragrance. You have to like white florals, you have to like jasmine. I do suggest sampling this stuff before buying it, unless you're into collecting and you just want the bottle, which is still fine. But yeah, sample it. And there are, to be honest, there are alternatives to this kind of scent profile that work in a very similar way. I'll be reviewing soon a fragrance from Nasomatto that I have, China White. It kind of smells like this, and I think it's a little bit, arguably a little bit more interesting than this, just because it's like the drug dealing cousin of this in a way. And it's still great, but it still really has this jasmine, elegant, clean vibe to it. So I think there are alternatives to this one here. I do really hope I gave Reflection 45 the light it deserves. I truly think that this is a masterpiece fragrance from Amouage. Although I would like and encourage people to explore the brand through other ones. This one here, it could be a great starting point. This one here is definitely safer as a first approach, and this one here is definitely more versatile and mass appealing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all the appreciation. Another one down. I have many more to come. I really like doing this, as I mentioned, and please leave any comments, suggestions, opinions down below in the comments. I'll be sure to reply. Thanks again as usual, and cheers.